Mr. Zoellick, international trade disputes seem to be an increasing phenomenon. What consequences do you see for the U.S. economy?
Well, it's not good for the U.S. economy or for the global economy. So I think the protectionism that the Trump administration has been practicing will hurt everybody. It raises costs as you have tariffs. You get retaliations. But one of the biggest problems are we're not making the rules for the future. So I know in Germany and elsewhere there's a topic about the digital economy and how data and data analytics are going to transform traditional businesses. You need rules on those issues, and we're not developing the agreements that will help make rules for those topics. So there's near-term and long-term costs.
Right. And the U.S. trade deficit seems to be increasing despite the tariffs. Are there any benefits to this tariff policy of Donald Trump?
Well, I don't see them, but then again, I'm a rather strong free trader, perhaps one of the last around. There's a lot of people who have frustrations in the U.S. and Europe about Chinese policy. And I think many of these are warranted in terms of intellectual property rights or forced technology transfer, lack of reciprocity in trade or investment. I don't really think the way Trump has approached these is the best way to deal with them. I think there are efforts that you could make with the Chinese that have their own interest in reducing some of these barriers. So some will say the focus on China had been long overdue. I think we'll have to see what he actually produces out of it, because I think there's a better approach.
Do you think President Trump's China strategy ultimately will fail?
I don't believe it's going to achieve any of the successes that he claims for it, but the bigger challenge, whether it's Trump or who succeeds him, is the U.S.-China relationship is so critical for the world. And there you've got a Chinese dimension, too, because President Xi in China has clearly strengthened the role of the Communist Party. People, at least of a certain generation here in Germany, know that that's not such a great thing. So it will require both sides, as well as, in my view, would be if the U.S. should work more closely with its European, Japanese, Korean, Australian, Canadian allies on this.
Where do you see international trade conflicts already affecting the global economy?
The prime effect is actually on uncertainty of businesses. So the tariffs create costs, and that's whether for consumers or, in the case of the U.S., about 40 to 50% of input or imports are for intermediate goods, so it raises costs for business. But what you really now see, some estimates I've seen about taking a % off of GDP, is because the business investment is uncertain. People have their supply and logistics chains thrown off. They're not sure whether they should invest in additional plant and equipment. And you can see this reaction in, for example, stock markets. Every time that Trump takes an additional protectionist action, the markets sort of show their anxiety. So I think the greatest effect is, frankly, the bigger long-term issue of, are we deconstructing the international economic and trading, and for that matter security system that has served us very well for 70 years, including during German unification.
Right, and ultimately protectionism or free trade, which will win out?
My guess, I would love free trade to win out. My guess is that you're going to have a battle, and you'll have some mixture, and it will vary by country. But look, the worst thing for the world would be if we go back to a world of 1900 and break up into blocks. The U.S., China, India, the European Union and economics, they'll manage, but it'll be far more costly for everybody and riskier too.
Robert Zoellick, thank you very much.
My pleasure.